Oh, yep, Jesse's already there. Okay. I'm in. Jesse's there. Greg Johnston's there. Pat's there. Oh boy, Pat. Yep. Oh, Pat said they're stockpiling next door because of the road's going to be closed. I posted pretty soon. They want all the material over there. Yeah.
Hey, Becky, can you hear me?
I can.
I'll just let you know your microphone's on so we can hear you on your phone call.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Audio.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Wait, I think I have volume here somewhere.
You figured it out.
Yeah, I had to close that and start it over. Oh, you have, turn off my speaker. Where do you turn off the speakers? He just heard me. It's loud. Where do I just right there?
Hi, Jesse.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Are you now at the town full time
Not until the 8th.
of March?
Yeah.
Everybody?
You have any duties left at Southwest, or are you gonna be full time now at Tremont?
I'll be in Southwest until this Friday.
Uh,
Everybody's leaving Southwest.
I'm still here.
Yep, you are. That is true.
Yep. Jesse, have they filled the harbor master?
Yes.
Yep.
Geez, Mark, am I going to be able to do anything tonight?
Yes,
Good.
except you're gonna have to recuse yourself for the campground.
And I can't say anything about what we did last week because I wasn't here.
No, but we're gonna also discuss some issues regarding the land use and site plan review after the campground issue, so. You may want to join in for that. And also, do you have any other properties? Because we want to know where the next campground's going to be.
Okay, Kevin.
Mark already knows I disagree with him anyway.
Well, now's not the time, but I have an answer to you, Kevin. I'd be happy to answer.
I'm sure you do.
I think it's a valid one as well.
I understand.
What do we got, 6 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, who are we missing?
Brett.
Is he supposed to join us?
Yes, as far as I know.
Well, let's give him a minute then.
It's time. I just heard it.
Jeff is the timekeeper, Lisa's
Yeah.
clock.
Jesse, you're going to be like full time. Are we still going to be able to harass you?
For now.
Let's start the meeting and hopefully Brett will join us. I'll call the Tremont Planning Board meeting of February 23rd to order, 6 o'clock or 6:01. Roll call. We have Marjorie Buck.
Here.
Okay, Lawson Wolson,
Here?
Jeff Young,
Here.
myself, Mark Good, CEO Jesse Dunbar. Is Jan gonna join us, Jesse?
Believe so.
Okay, and hopefully we'll have recording secretary Jan Sprague and members of the public as well. We see a Pat down there. Do we know who Pat is? Okay. Any adjustment of the agenda, anybody?
I
I don't- I don't see where we need to do that. Okay, minutes for February 17th. We need approval. Actually, oh, we can do, no, we don't have, it's just Jeff and I, we're the only ones here for that. Can we?
Yeah, so you'll need to wait for Brett.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for Brett. For once, I remembered the minutes and got caught up here. Okay, so we'll move.
Well,
That's
James was
That's
there.
James, okay. So, okay, we'll move on to the public hearing. The public hearing on ordinance changes, call the public hearing to order at 6:02 PM. Any comments from anybody? Essentially what we have here is 3 articles going to the town meeting warrant for consideration by the voters. And one is just some housekeeping measures, looking at formatting, correcting typos, punctuation, and some of those sort of things. And including some duplicates in the definitions that we'll be talking about later. The other thing is integration clauses that will integrate the site plan review ordinance with the LUO. As we know, that's been an issue since the site plan review ordinance was made separate from the LUO. And the third thing is some small changes in campground standards.
Mark, could you read into the record what the changes in the statute to campgrounds are? For
Yes,
those of us who don't have a copy of what you guys have.
okay. Well, first of all, remember, who was that, Greg?
Yep, that's me.
Yeah, remember, they're not approved yet. So
No, I understand. Yep.
what we have now is a 50-foot setback as opposed to the 25-foot for non-residential use that we have now. And I think the comprehensive plan supports that as well. Little protection for the residential owners to a campground, neighbors to a campground. Trash receptacle, each site will be required to have a 30-gallon trash receptacle.
Yep.
And fire pits approved by the fire chief. So either a metal or a masonry sort of fire pit. And the other thing, there's a little bit of parking. It's just been added to, it was not in the site
Yep.
plan review.
Yep.
Um,
What is that parking requirement?
I've got to look. Page 19, okay. So basically, it's been added to transient accommodations, okay? That section, and it will read, if approved, bed and breakfast accommodations, motels, hotels, boarding houses, cottages, campgrounds, and inns with 10 rooms or less, 2 parking spaces plus 1 space for each guest room. And also the number 2, motels, hotels, boarding houses, cottages, campgrounds, and inns with more than 10 rooms, 1 parking space for each guest, plus 1 for each 3 employees. Got that, Greg?
Thank you, Mark. Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No problem. Any comments, anybody?
Didn't we also tighten up on a little more screening?
I think we just used the buffering standards that are in the ordinance already. Right, Jesse?
Yes.
In fact, now that you mention it, Jeff,
We added the phrase, "The campground shall be screened from all abutting areas according to the performance standards" in Article 5 TD and Article 6A. So we added that sentence.
correct. So it really doesn't make it, that's really not a change. It just refers to what would have been done anyway, correct?
I don't think the Article 6A applied originally.
I think it was the Article 5 that didn't.
Article 5, yeah.
Board meeting.
Yep.
We did expand it. It was,
I gotta go.
All right. Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye.
Hey, guys.
Okay, we have Brett here. Record show that Brett is joining us at 6:07. Hi, Jan. See, she's here as well now.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions or comments regarding the public hearing here?
Mark, I have one. I'm sorry, only because you just read it. When you read back the campground, my note said that it was one space per guest. Is that one space per guest site or one space per guest that walks through the gates? Maybe a little clarity in that might be helpful later. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I just don't know what the intention was of that. And maybe it would be added per site or some sort. I don't know what the intention was.
Let me look at it again. That's probably a good point. If
I thought we had added that. Let me check.
Yeah, if it were one per guest, that would make for a lot of parking spaces. Huh, Greg?
Well, it would make for a long conversation next time we have to talk about it. So I thought if there was a intention that could use clarity at this time, it might be warranted.
It says one per every sleeping room or campsite.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. I apologize. I don't have that document with me.
Yep, no problem.
Where was
Jesse-
that, Jesse?
Yeah, I don't see that, Jesse. I actually
I
see,
must have missed that.
I actually
It's
think
on
that,
Page 41 on mine. Parking spaces
In the Luo or the site plan?
in the Luo.
Luo, okay. That's why I missed it.
right. So, yeah, because in the site plan, it says, where is that? One space for each guest for
Right,
motels, hotels, boarding houses, cottages, and campgrounds and inns with more than 10 rooms. And so that would be a lot more
Yeah.
parking than in the land use ordinance, which requires one for every sleeping room or campsite.
Yep. So we'll have to make them consistent.
what page are you on, Jesse? 41?
41 in the
41
land
of
use
the-
ordinance, 19 in the site plan review ordinance.
I got it. Thank you.
That was one of the changes we made last week, I think.
yeah, we obviously didn't make the change in the site plan,
Site plan, yep.
yeah. So that should be changed. We can discuss that later, right?
Yep.
Are we able to clarify at this moment what the intent is? I mean, do we know, are we able to, tell Greg and everybody else that the intent is one for every sleeping room or campsite? Or does that need discussion? I don't.
I think that's what we're going.
That was
looking at.
my understanding
Yeah.
from the
Great.
last
Okay.
meeting.
Wait a minute. It doesn't say per guest, it says per guest room.
In the site plan review ordinance,
Yes.
that's for inns with 10 rooms or less. But paragraph 2, which is more than 10 rooms, it says for each guest plus one for each employee. Or
Okay, I see that. Thank you.
plus, yeah.
And we should probably add or campsite, which isn't a room,
Right.
but we can discuss that later. Okay. Any more comments or questions? Otherwise, I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 6:11. You need a motion on that, Jesse?
If you wouldn't mind.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a
Second.
second. Okay, a motion and second on the table to close the public hearing at 6:11. All in favor, Lawson,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Marjorie? You're
Can I,
muted.
no, can I say yes?
Hmm?
On this?
Unless you don't want to close it.
Yes.
Well, I mean, okay, it was for the campground. Yes.
No, it wasn't for this
Oh, it wasn't
campground.
for the campground, it was for
It
the,
wasn't for this particular campground. This was just in general.
Okay, yes.
The ordinance, yes, okay. Brett?
Yes.
Okay, myself, yes. Okay, unanimous. Thank you, folks. Now that Brett's here, we can do the minutes. Brett, we're waiting for you to approve the minutes because we only had Jeff and I who were at that meeting.
I'll move that they be approved. As prepared.
Okay, I'll second that. I have a motion and a second on the table to approve the minutes of February, what was it?
17th.
17th. Any discussion? All in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Myself, yes. 3-0. Okay. Let's move on. We have now Marjorie, you'll have to recuse yourself, but hang around because we want you to come back under old business. Okay? Okay, let's move on to new business completeness of application for the Acadia Wilderness Lodge Campground. Okay, we can go through this list that Jesse has prepared for us. That's okay. I'm just going to go through it quickly. People who have questions or concerns, please state it at the time. We won't need to vote on each individual one, but we'll vote on the completeness or incompleteness at the end of all this review. First of all, fully executed and signed copy of the application for the site plan review. I see that. Anybody?
Yep.
Evidence of payment of the application. Well,
Yep.
we see evidence of the payment of the application, but we don't see evidence of payment of the technical review fee, which, Greg, I reminded you at the pre-application hearing that you needed to, or pre-application conference that you needed to put up front. That's a $500 fee. And our ordinance says that we're not supposed to find this application complete unless you've paid that fee.
Mark, I think it was in the, and our interpretation was if it was required. I don't know that the board has voted to say, hey, based on the stuff we have, we're having because you didn't have any information at that time. So not knowing what we would have submitted for anything on the application, I did not take it as, hey, we're having a peer review of this aspect of the ordinance. It was, you may have it.
Greg, if I can interrupt you, if you look at the site plan review under D fees, number 2, technical review fee. Are you there?
Which ordinance?
Site plan review.
Site plan review.
In addition to the application fee, the applicant for the site plan review must also pay a technical review fee in the amount of $500 to defray the town of Tremont's legal and technical costs of the application review. This fee must be paid to the town of Tremont and shall be deposited into the Development Review Trust account, which shall be separate and distinct from all other municipal accounts. The application will be considered incomplete until evidence of payment of this fee is submitted to the planning board. The board may reduce the amount of the technical review fee or eliminate the fee if it determines that the scale or nature of the project will require little or no outside review. If 75% of the initial technical review fee is used, the planning board may request additional monies to cover expenses. So it's clear that you need to pay this up front Our decision whether to reduce that amount or eliminate it comes later.
And so I guess, Mark, if you guys are requiring it as part of completeness, we'll make that. I'm sure there's some other things we want to discuss, and we have no issue with putting that whether in escrow or an account. Understood.
Okay.
Yep.
So, board, do you want to continue or consider this incomplete at this point? We can make it a condition, I guess.
Suggest that we continue and see if this, you know,
I guess I would only say on that, you know, the board shall specify additional materials. I don't know that I've ever had an experience that when you hit something that's missing, you say, we'll come back next time. That would seem like a very lengthy process. I mean, we've done this before. If the board needs an additional thing such as a fee or another plan, we're always willing to give it. I don't know that we would stop the list if you would.
Okay, yeah, well, we're going to continue anyway. I just, you know, I just made a point. I just want to let you know, I made a point during your pre-application conference that you needed to pay this, and I was surprised you didn't because I know you're generally pretty thorough.
$500.
Okay. One original, 9 copies of written materials plus 1 original and 9 sets of maps. Maps and drawings must be at a scale sufficient to allow review of items listed under approval standards, but in no case greater than 1 inch equals 100 feet. Seems like they've met that. Anybody else? Lawson, you happy with that 1 inch? You're always a stickler on that, I know.
I know, I just grabbed my scale bar. Are these reduced? Do we know?
So we submitted 2 or maybe even 4 large sets of prints.
Like
And then
24 by 36?
Yeah, and then code, normally the board chair, code department, the public file, all and council got a large one, and then those ones are reduced. They are to the full scale if you all want full 24 by 36 inches, that could be done.
No, I just wanted to
Yep.
make a note on here so that I don't start using my scale
Yeah,
bar when I
yes,
shouldn't.
understandably.
Yeah.
And then in addition to the 100 scale ones, the site's broken up into 2 50 scale ones.
You okay with that, Lawson? Or are you still?
2 50 scale ones? I have 1 50 scale one, but maybe that's just.
Yes, the state you have has 1 50 scale one. That's correct.
Oh,
Yep. Yep.
That's sort of the RV area, you know, the southern.
Probably, yeah, Southern Stormwater Management Plan, but the overall plan is 100 scale that you have, even though it's reduced. Yep.
Yeah, looks good to me. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving on. Location of all required building setbacks, yards and buffers. We see that they've maintained a 50-foot minimum. We appreciate that. No build zone and solid fence at 50-foot mark on site plan tab 4. Greg, can you guide us? You provide us with a lot of information here.
There's going to be a separate plan that's called the buffering plan, which is reduced in your set with the exception of the larger prints in the office. That sheet is called the buffering plan. And
Is it one of the, oh, I got it. Yep. It's one of the big maps.
Yep, 1 inch equals 100. Just to break it out and make it clear, we indicated what buffering is going on. And I would just point out that buffering including not only the 50-foot no cut zones, which is double what the ordinance suggests and actually where you guys are going to move potentially. The in key areas where there may be any vehicles or potential any light or noise, we're building a 5-foot tall berm with a wooden fence on the top of it. 50 foot of woods. We went out and James and his wife Kenya went out to here, we studied this really carefully. We went to, I want to say all the backyards, but we went to every backyard and took photos through the woods to see where we might be doing things and assess like, where's their understory? Where could there be a potential impact? Ooh, let's go to 50 foot. And so this plan reflects a lot of on the ground looking. Part of the buffering, I also just taking a moment to point out, part of the buffering is also the planning. We planned the core of the project towards the interior. You'll notice all the roads that abut the residential areas, we flop activities towards the inside of that road where the road just may scoot by to be an access. There's no activity directly up on that side. And that goes through with not only the sites, but some of the other, on-site features. So that's all sort of part of the buffering. But one thing that sometimes isn't recognized in a buffering is the planning. And I think that, we've put a lot of work into that.
And Greg, it looks like I'm seeing the berm called out as like the orange line on the eastern edge. Is that right? I just want to make sure I'm looking. It looks like it's just that one location in that corner.
It's going to be almost three sides. Well,
1, 2,
yes.
3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
3
correct.
legs. Okay.
Three legs. And I'll admit the only side that has any activity towards it is towards his family's property, which will help maintain the site and the property they own, which then has RV sites and the fence. But the rest of it, you can see we flopped to the inside. So you're correct. That yellow line chasing through is the fence on top of the berm.
Great.
Yep.
So I would say that condition's been met. What do you folks say?
Yeah, certainly. I think that there's enough information here we're doing completeness
It's
tonight.
just completeness tonight.
And so
yes,
we'll check it
yeah.
against the ordinance next
Correct.
time,
Yeah.
or when we get there. But there seems to be a lot of clear information presented about the design intent and the design strategies.
Yep, okay. Moving on, names and addresses of all property owners within 500 feet of any or all property boundaries. Now, Greg, I mentioned to Jesse, and I think he then relayed to you that there were things missing initially. And I saw that you provided us with a list of other names. But I did notice that somebody that I know who lives there is not on the list.
Well,
I did check. I did verify that, Mark, and they are just outside the 500-foot zone.
Oh, okay.
and Mark, I don't, obviously notification is important to us. Do you know on the beginning of tab 2, there's a tax map with a 500-foot radius around it?
Yep.
Does that help you see which lot of the person you're wondering about?
I don't know from the tax map, but Jesse
Okay.
checked on it and he says they're outside the 500-foot boundary. My guess is they're pretty close. I knew they were neighbors to the Spikers, so that's why
Yeah.
I was concerned. Yeah.
If Mark, if you look at that tax map Greg's referring to, they're just to the west of lot 33A.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine, yeah.
The other ones, Mark, we did supplement, the ordinance asks
Yep.
for the code enforcement to go through it, and that check we did, there was a handful that needed to be added. They were in the inner circle.
Well,
They
I
were
noticed
too
you were missing the Spikers and they're right.
They were too close for us.
So-
They were too close for us to identify. I don't know how they'd missed it, but we got them in there.
Okay,
Thanks.
anybody else on that? I think we're okay then. Sketch map showing general location of the site within the town-based tax map, says on tax map. That's tab 2. I think we've got that. Anybody else? No problems?
Looks good. Yep.
Okay, boundaries of all contiguous properties under total or partial control of the owner or applicant, regardless of whether all or part is being developed. And we do have the other campground, right, on here, which is owned by the Hopkins.
Yeah, I would say the meets and bounds aren't shown. It's actually technically a different owner. The subject site has different partners and ownerships, and the boundaries for that are given. We could submit the adjacent site, though it is different owners.
Board? Seems okay to me.
I have a question though.
Okay.
It may be in a different title, but are the principles behind them similar? Common?
I think there are common managing partners, yes.
Because our ordinance asks for it if under total or partial control of the owner or applicant.
It's a good point, or part.
Yeah. I think it should be included.
Anybody else? Brett? Included.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Is on the, we're looking at the boundary survey, right? And are those the lots that are listed as being owned by James Hopkins?
Only one of them.
Are there multiple lots?
No, there's only one adjacent one, which we had site plan approval for 11 units last year.
Right.
And that is, I was just going to the site plan, find the boundary for you. That is going to be, get my finger on the boundary survey.
It was in my tab 2. I'm not sure if that's.
Tab 2, yep. Let's get to this one, to the boundary survey. It is the, it will be the lot which the entrance is headed towards on our site plan while I'm looking for it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
That's what I sort of expected, but so okay. Yeah, okay. So then it's on the boundary survey, it's listed as James M. Hopkins.
Yep.
Book 5490.
Yep. Lot 102. The tax map.
So how do we handle that, Jesse?
We have the boundary
You wanna-
survey.
I was gonna say, just submit the boundary survey for that.
We have the boundary survey for it.
Yeah.
Because you actually have a road going from that property onto this
Right.
property.
We discussed that road on our first go around on the initial presentation of this project.
Right.
Greg, you're prepared to do that?
Yeah, I think that's easy. I mean, I think the merits, which we'll probably go over in completeness, partly, you know, we went through quite a, I don't want to say lengthy, but there was a lot of discussion for the prior 11, including an appeal, and a bunch of stuff. And we looked at that and said, how can we make that better from what had been expressed to us? And so through that, and I can say that the Hopkins didn't own this adjacent parcel during that. There was no, hey, it became available to them later. But how we can make it better is we said, hey, why don't we redirect any traffic to those sites through us and cut off needing to use Kellytown Road. So there's no real need for that entrance and at that time, so that we're gonna, and it's in the application here, their guests will arrive at the new main entrance on Route 102 that we've discussed over by the church, not through Kellytown. And that was just a betterment that came into sort of evolution of thoughts and their sort of vision for what they wanted to do.
Comments, anybody? Moving along, the tax map and lot number of the parcel or parcels on which the project is located. We have that. It's map 5, lot 100. According to our code enforcement officer's notes here. Copy of the deed to the property and option to purchase the property or other document to demonstrate right, title, or interest. We do have that. Quit claim deed with covenant. Everybody okay with that? See people reading. Are you reviewing the deed? We all set? I see Brett saying yes. Jeff?
Yep.
Lawson?
Yep.
Okay. We've got that. Okay, name, registration number, and seal of the person who prepared the plan, if applicable. That would be you, Greg, and we do have that. Evidence of the applicant's technical and financial capability to carry out the project as proposed. We do have a letter from Achaya Savings Bank saying that the funds are available, or the financial capability is there. Existing conditions, zoning classifications. Located on the tax map. It's a residential business, correct?
Yep.
Bearings and length of all property lines to be developed and source of the information. Boundary survey, tab 2. Which one is the boundary survey? Oh, here we go.
It was the last page and tab 2. My binder.
Right after the abutters list.
Yep, looks good to me. Anybody else? We okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Lawson?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sort of curious, Greg, the sort of inside corner that says that the line is blazed in 2018. Is that property corner possible to find? Were you able to look at it? I guess that's the sort of, when I look at this, that seems to be the trickiest part potentially between EH and IK Lammerhurst's property.
Yeah, we've been through there. We can find the pins. Of course, when it made it easier when we had sort of resource mapping, we load the boundary survey into the data collectors. We're walking with GPS, so you know when you're getting close to it, and then you can find the pins when you get there.
And so is there a pin in that inside corner?
I believe there is, yes.
Then I guess I would ask for the boundary survey to include something that notes that there's, I don't know, rebar or iron.
Oh, wait a
pipe.
second. But isn't it right? If we're looking at the same place, I'm sorry. You're looking at the.
I'm looking at the corner that is the line says line blazed in 2018.
Yeah. You see the legend on the lower right? It says 1-inch bolt set. unless
Perfect.
otherwise noted.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. I'm satisfied. Look at the legend, Lawson.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
You okay there, Lawson?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Where am I here? Okay. Existing location and size of any existing septic and well, culverts and drains, underground tanks. And where would this be shown, Greg?
So let's see, the overall, so the contours are on all the sheets. Existing features are on the utility plan, which is, it's going to be in tab 4. Oops, maybe it's tab 4. Put my hands on it. There's the light. Separate plan. Let me get my finger on it here. I'm gonna try to bring up my electronic version.
It's actually in tab 3.
Yeah, if we're looking
3.
at something that has the leach field, it's in tab 3. It's not
In
past
10? What's 10?
Oh, there we go. Thanks. That is going to be end of tab 3, right? Before tab 4. Any of the existing leach fields or wells or those are the only known features on the site. And then the rest, the contours on each plan, all the proposed culverts are shown as green on the stormwater management plan.
On the utility plan
Yep.
in tab 3, that shows the existing leach field.
Yep.
It also shows wells.
Yeah, we showed the existing campground, what we could discern from the house, and then the other wells planned are all on that lot, just to break
Okay.
it away from the rest of
And
the site.
So the one next to the what is called the campground store on this plan,
Yes, that's the
existing.
existing. That's correct.
And all the rest are new.
That's correct.
Right. I mean, that's all forest right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Where is the utility plan?
Almost midway through tab 3.
3.
I couldn't find that before when I was looking for it.
It's an 11 by 17 sheet, so it's folded. It's got the accordion fold.
I've got the lighting plan.
Yep. So go earlier than that. It's the same size sheet, but
It's after that?
no, before that.
Before that, okay. I don't know if I have that.
Yeah, it's folded in. I had a hard time getting it back out of my paper copy. I could bring it up if my computer is going to behave here.
Is it before the signs?
Yeah. Yeah, it's back before the sign.
It's going to be, let's see.
Right after utilities, and before natural features.
Anyway, I don't think I have it. Well, wait a minute, is this it? Yes, I found it.
Mark, what's the title of it?
C-U utility plan.
Utility.
Existing farmhouse, septic, well, and power.
Yeah.
Okay, we see the leach field. Is there a well? I don't see a well.
The blue just to the west of the campground
Oh.
store. Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, the symbol, W, okay, got you.
And then the poles are,
Power.
yeah, the power poles are on our side of the road. And the yellow line goes to the pole just to the page left of that well.
Okay,
And those dark dots along the edge of the road on their plan are the power poles.
okay. Is everybody satisfied with that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry it took me so long to find.
I'll apologize in advance on the organization, but trying to decide if we follow the organization of one ordinance for the other. And then you just gotta get it all in one spot and read through. And I think we tried to formulate some logic, but it's not easy. Even I have a bit of trouble getting there.
Well, Greg, I think we appreciate the thoroughness, but it is a little unwieldy.
Yes.
Trying to find some of this stuff, so
Yep.
bear with us here, okay? Location, names, and present width of existing streets, rights of way within or adjacent to the proposed development.
So the roads are shown on the proposed site plan, and the narrative describes them as 18 or 16 feet wide. In the trip calculations, they show that the existing road is, I believe we measured it, 11-foot lanes. And so the site
Entrance is
plan,
20 feet,
said that one, sorry, Mark.
the entrance,
Yeah,
20
the
feet.
entrance is 20 feet, not counting the radius either. The radius makes it wider.
Greg, what's the narrative that you were referring to?
The narrative I was referring to is, it's going to be a tab 3. And it's going to be, it's under land use standards, buffer. There. Go to my index. You're gonna be the first 2 pages of tab 3, B, adequacy of road systems.
I see adequacy of road system.
Yep.
And now I'm just trying to find where
Width of that road.
the width, the 18 feet wide,
Yep.
just to make sure that it's in here.
Okay, the 18 feet wide of our proposed roads.
Yeah,
That'll be sheet. It's in the narrative someplace, but it's also shown on sheet C2, south stormwater management and grading plan. Small detail on the lower right-hand side.
Typical road detail, 18-foot travel way, 10-foot travel way, one way.
Yeah, so we're correct. Two ways,
Correct.
18-foot wide. I think be important to note that each one of those has an additional 3-foot shoulder on each side, which is pretty substantial. A lot of the highways do not have it. So we're 18, 3 and 3, or 10, 3 and 3 for a one-way.
And this overall site plan indicates which ones are two-way and which ones are one-way, so that makes it clear. Okay. Well, the information. Yep, we found it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on. The location, dimensions, and elevations of all existing buildings on the site. See site plan tab 4.
So same one for the stormwater management plan. We have a finished floor 18 plus or minus there based on the contours. You can see it's tucked in the left-hand side of the stormwater management plan. That's the only structure on site.
What's going to be the store?
Be the existing farmhouse.
We okay with that? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've got a question. You said the finished floor elevation or the first floor elevation is 18 feet? But it looks like the contour line near there is like 114. Am I reading it wrong?
It's like 14. The next one up's 14, and then the one right in the middle is 16. Right up in the crotch. If you see, you got 12, then you got 14 that passes it, and then right in the middle by the and then there's like a couple of steps up into it. They're 2-foot contours, so you see the
Right.
12.
But isn't it 112?
Yeah, I mean it.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure that the finished floor elevation is 118.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, just cool.
Is there a barn on this property?
I think it's attached, I believe.
Oh, it's attached?
Yep.
Okay. So it'll be included in your sketch here of the farmhouse.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We all set there? Looks good. The location and dimensions of existing driveways, parking and loading areas, walkways, sidewalks on or immediately adjacent to the site. According to Jesse here, one overgrown 8-foot wide existing driveway, a wood cutters road on site, 4-car parking at old farmhouse, no walkways or sidewalks.
Greg,
Anybody?
I have nothing behind my tab 4.
Nothing.
No plans.
What should be there?
In the pocket?
How about a set of plans stuffed in the pocket behind it?
Oh,
There are 4 11 by 17 sheets in my packet.
oh, okay. Now, see, those 4 sheets are before tab 4. So I'm okay. I got it all then, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll shift them now.
Okay.
Thank you.
We all set there?
Well, do we have? I don't see where they're shown, although, and maybe it's just in Greg's sort of like summary, which is super helpful. But are they shown in tab 4?
What part?
The overgrown 8-foot wide driveway, the woodcutters road, the 4-car parking at the old farmhouse.
There's a little driveway to the parking. let's see, the survey plan, we don't show it on our site plan because it wasn't of substance. The road, we tried to follow it, but it's not on our site plan. It
Right.
may be on the survey
Boundary?
plan. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read that as a Woods Cutter Road being in here, but we can figure out where it is and put it on there if it's needed.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's needed. I just wanted to. It looks
Yeah, I
like you're
don't-
providing information in the sort of checklist. And
Existing driveways shown though, right?
Yeah, the existing driveway just south of the barn.
And the parking at the farmhouse.
Yeah, the parking is new.
But it's existing. It should be shown, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's grass kind of parking, kind of farmhouse lawn, which is parking / lawn, depending on what season it is. Of the fault of what the board might think they need on that.
What do you folks think?
yeah, I'm okay. I'm looking at the satellite image of it, and it looks like a yard. I would
That's
call
why,
that lawn.
yeah, it's gonna say grown in. It's a grown in driveway.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, unless somebody has something else, let's move on. Location of intersecting roads or driveways within 200 feet of site. Did see that. Actually, Greg, while we're, this isn't for the completeness review, but I did notice that your road opening permit is for a place called Barnard, Barnard Township in Piscataquis County.
I saw that.
Yeah, so obviously it's a mistake. Either you have the wrong, you sent the DOT the wrong place, or they made a mistake, and maybe you ought to have that corrected.
Yeah, I can follow up with him. He also gave us the subsequent letter on his review of it, which I think you'll find in there. We can,
Which he also calls Bernard Township.
yeah.
I think we need a site visit up there to take a look at this.
Yeah, yeah.
To Piscataquis?
Yeah.
Wait, is that where the county commissioners were going to wear a mask, or was it? No.
Oh, that was for the, although maybe also, I don't remember.
It's a gun-free zone. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. We all set with the location of intersecting roads and driveways within 200 feet of site. I think he notes that. We know there's Clark Point and Kellytown, and they're 550 feet. So the location of open drainage courses, wetlands, stone walls, graveyards, fences, stand of trees, and other important features. Greg has provided us a tab 3, a habitat map, and tab 4 on-site map.
So the aerial image shows that it's mostly forested, and what you'll see on this, both the overall site plan and then the smaller ones, is the hatched areas are forested wetlands delineated on the earth. No streams, no, water bodies.
You okay with that, folks?
To give you a little bit more, I just haven't found I had it in front of me before and then I lost it.
The habitat map?
The habitat map is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Natural features.
Let's see.
Gonna make Greg number these pages next time.
I'm gonna do it next time for sure.
I see. Okay. So there's the high value plant and animal habitats.
Yeah, and I believe there's a national wetlands inventory in there.
Yes.
And then our site specific.
No areas occur adjacent to the property.
Tab 3, begin with habitat.
I know I saw it before as well. Lawson, where'd you find it? What's it?
So it's in tab 3. What's helpful is that it's paragraph M. So if you find like, and that is in order, more or less, I think.
Oh,
Yep, it is. It follows
it's-
their,
Right, it follows our paragraphs, which is great. So it's after soil and before, or I guess it's also before soil.
It's right
Oh.
after the utility plan as well.
Yeah, right.
So what was the letter?
M as in monkey. Natural features, and it talks about significant animal habitat.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then, Greg, you were talking about forested wetlands on some plan. Is that under your site plan?
gonna be in both the overall site plan and also on the south stormwater management plan. On the
Oh, I
overall
see.
site, yep,
Forested wetlands. And it looks like there's, let's see, more or less you're avoiding campsites in those areas. Is that?
yeah, 100%. We didn't, we
100%,
have,
okay.
we crossed at when we get into the substantial review, we really crossed at the narrowest points we could. There are no, I think we're even below the threshold. Each call it individual project is allowed up to 4,300 square foot of impact for just say forested wetland, not wetland of special significance, and we're below that threshold, and then certainly kept all the cabins, everything away from them. Is
Cool. Okay. And I see some green lines that look like they might.
Those are culverts.
Those are culverts. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, we all set there?
Looks good to me.
Yep. Direction of existing surface water drainage across the site. Tab 4. Is that in C2?
That is correct.
Yep, we see directions. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, the location, front view, dimensions, and lighting of existing signs. Greg, I had a question. You have 2 signs here. You mentioned one. Hold on. Here we go. Didn't mark that. One says Mountain View Community. What's with that?
I've never worked on that.
I think that's just an
don't-
example.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that just an example? Okay.
yeah, that's an example of the backlit downward pointing light,
Okay.
sort of. Yep.
Okay, I was wondering about that. But you also say that one is going to be near the entrance and one further west along Route 102, which,
Yep.
by the way, doesn't exist anymore there. That's Tremont Road. That'll be just off the road on
Yes.
your property
Yes.
or the Hobskins property.
So you'll see, it got covered up there. Let me go to the overall site plan. So there's one at the entrance, just to the left as you enter. You can see that on C2. That would be the wooden sign, which is the second one. Actually, there's an index, there's a location, I guess, shown in the exhibit itself. It's just before the farmhouse, on the right. And then the other one,
Oh, I see it now on this plan. Okay.
yep, and then I believe on C1, I don't know why we put we put the density calculations right on top of where they would see the second one, but on C1, further down the road on a ledge outcrop, which is the first one that shows the ledge outcrop in the sign.
Yeah,
Why the need for two signs? Just out of curiosity.
People coming from both directions.
Looking at C2 and seeing the two Acadia Wilderness Lodge signs, more or less equidistant from the turn.
Oh, I see it. I'm sorry. Yep, they're there. I was
Yeah,
off the-
I mean, those are the two we're talking about, right, Greg?
they are.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
they are.
That
Yep.
seems to sort of be pretty clear and makes sense from a, like, you don't want people having to do a U-turn once they see the sign after the driveway. So
Okay.
I like being able to see it before you the driveway.
That's fine. He's showing where they are. They're planned and has the location and dimensions. And the lighting as well. They're all downward lights, right?
Shielded and down lights. That's what.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have that. Everybody okay with that? Let's move on then. Location and dimensions of any easements and copies of existing covenants and deed restrictions. Tab 2, were there any?
No.
I didn't think there were either. That's. So this would really be not applicable, right?
Well, the deed, I think, satisfies the criteria. If we didn't have the deed, you wouldn't be able to confirm that.
We don't have not applicable on this anyway, so it's completed. So, okay. Indication of water supply sufficient in quantity and quality for both normal use and fire protection. We know that you have a fire pond on the site to be installed. This always gets us sufficient in quantity.
Well, we know that, I don't want to say, but bedrock ledge is a little bit like black box magic. What are you going to get when you get there? Except we all live on Mount Desert Island with wells in bedrock. And so you can look at wells that are around you and see what the yields are. The other way is there's a couple of different studies out there on bedrock hydrology in Mount Desert Island and what can be absorbed. And if you take your inflow, which is the rain that falls on you, and your watershed above you, with what can infiltrate the rock, you can make assumptions of whether or not you have an adequate water supply above you or your own site for what your demands are. And we provided some calculations along that. You know, there's some wells in the area that are 10 gallons a minute, and then some are 5 gallons a minute. We've planned a number of wells on the site, not based on what we think we'd get for yield, but to minimize how much trenching you have to do. It's just not economical to go 600 feet with a single well. And it allows you to regulate your site better by which you know, this well could flow or this one might be down at certain times. So we've got a number of wells planned. I think there's 4 on the site. And so once you take the leach field setbacks, the idea of economically trenching to each site and balance those out, where you have wells is how they get planned. But there's no, what we know is there's no evidence support that there's not adequate well on site. In fact, is the abundance of information from the Maine Geological Survey, our water recharge above us, our own site, that there's no information to say you don't have adequate wells, water supply.
When you say
So that's how
trenching, you mean the supply line from the
yeah, how
well.
far are you going to go? Yeah.
Gotcha.
How far are you going to go? At some point you'd say, well, these groups are geographically separated, right? If we have a ridge running through it, well, for $5,000, you should go do another well over there, right? And same thing over here for these groups of people. You should do another well. You wouldn't drill a well and go 1,000 feet with it to serve 2 people.
And if I recall correctly, this is also something that needs to get approval from the state in approving the campground as well. And that our approval is contingent on you getting state licensing, correct?
Yeah, they'll have a monitoring and testing program. They'll have to submit quality testing on a quarterly basis. And and they'll be in order as part of the licensure to operate in the state of Maine. We've had
That's
discussions. with them.
quality, not quantity.
Sure, sure. That is quality. Quantity. There is a map in there, and a narrative which explains what evidence supports the quantity. I'm going to blame it on tab 4. Seems like we stuffed everything in there, but I think in tab 4 there's a narrative on the quantity of. Let me see if I get it.
Tab 3.
It might be
Tab
tab
3.
3. It's right after. Yep, we're working our way through. J, right?
J, water supply. Section J, yeah.
So we've estimated the demands based on the unified plumbing code. We've talked about what the multipliers are going to be required for how we register the wells. Next page, you'll find a map of vicinity bedrock wells, more or less, some 3, some 4, some 40.
What was the source of that?
That's the main geological data. So when you drill a well, the well driller fills out a form and he mails it into the main geological survey. And if you need to understand what goes on in an area, you can go find that data.
I think I just want to sort of pause because I just want to make sure that we dealt with the fire supply issue, which is paragraph L, and now it sounds like we're going right on to the proposed development, paragraph A. Maybe I missed that transition, but
Fire protection. We have a fire pond on the site, right, with a dry hydrant.
yes, okay. And I just wanted to make sure that we said yes to that. Now we're already talking about the water supply for potable water.
Right.
Understood. Yep.
Okay.
And also there would be, I believe, Goodwin's little pond, there's also a water supply for the fire department as well.
Yes.
We've talked to, just talked to coordinate and gave Heath a sneak preview and encouraged. Yep, Heath. Keith. Did I say Heath? I meant Keith. Yep.
Yeah, well, it's easy to confuse them.
Yeah. So we had a number of conversations. He said he'd look at it. I let him know that coming towards the completeness of final hearing is something else that would help him. We're open. We think it's paramount that in an area that doesn't have public water supply, that where you have a availability to make a fire pond, it's used. We also get to use it for stormwater settling of particulates from one end to the other, so we get credit for it there. Also with fire protection, I know it's along the pond, but we have a number of places where even if we have our roads that we've given him places to turn around, most of the roads are loops, but on our dead end sites, I guess those are dead-ended for a reason. We can get into that, but we've made sure that they can turn around. We've widened some spaces up, and those are basically like riding a ridge. There's no reason to go down off of, the cliff. It takes the around the mountain route intentionally, but then rather than just because we want to connect them to the bottom, it doesn't make any sense because of topographical reasons. We've then included a turnaround for him. So if he has comments, we'll build the pond. We're anticipating 60,000 gallons as a threshold of NFPA. That's a goal. So we'll be putting 60,000 gallons availability.
Okay. Well, if Keith's happy, I'm happy. I defer to his judgment on what you actually need there. So if we can get his approval, that would be great. Anybody else on that one? Moving on, estimated demand for water supply and sewage disposal, together with the location and dimensions of all water supply and wastewater disposal, evidence of their adequacy for the proposed use, including soils tests, pit data, if on-site sewage disposal is proposed. And we do have in our binder here a report from Morse Environmental, or MOIS,
Moist.
MOISE Environmental Services regarding that. We okay with that, folks? I think for now we have it. The direction of proposed surface water drainage across the site and from the site with assessments of impact on downstream properties. So we have the stormwater management plan and report, combines rain gardens and infiltration trenches to promote infiltration on site. That's in tab 3.
I think it's actually tab 4.
Tab 4. Oh, yep.
Mark, I'm gonna hop in. We have the site to really evaluate stormwater is broken up into 2 halves, called the north half and the south half. You guys have been looking at what has the proposed contours and slope data on C2. That is the south half. What didn't make it to print, and I'll note as part of what would be needed for completeness, is the north end. You won't have that if you're looking for it. And with that is the calculations of pre and post developed. The checklist asks for calculations pre and post. We have those. They didn't make it at this print, and anticipating there'll be some questions of the board in another exhibit. We are able to submit those, but noted for the record, you don't have the north stormwater management grading plan. And if you were looking for it, you don't have it yet.
Okay. I think at some point, Greg, we're going to probably want a peer review of the stormwater management. That's for us as a board to decide. I'm not speaking for the board, but that's one reason we would like to see a technical review fee as well. So just to prepare yourself for that. Any questions, comments about that, folks?
Is there also a report?
So the report, I didn't publish the report yet.
Okay.
We just, in how we went from discussions and selectmen's meeting and to get this binder together, we ran short on time.
Sure. Okay.
I also wanted confirmation, to which I think the chairman just gave me, which was what I was looking for, is that we will be peer reviewed for stormwater. And I'm pretty particular in how you create documents that cater to an audience.
Yeah.
And hearing, we have a technical review fee, could have been on buffering, could have been, if it's stormwater, I'm appreciative of having another engineer look at it. I'm going to make sure what we have is geared towards that. And he's confirmed it, which just allows us to do a better sort of product.
Right. We don't have to decide that tonight, right, Jesse?
What was that?
For a peer review of any of this information, or hiring somebody, an expert,
Right.
for any of this stuff, we don't have to make that decision tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mark, just before, and regarding stormwater, that's why we hadn't submitted that in the calculations. I noted in the ordinance, you guys, they don't have a threshold for the 25-year event or the 100-year event. There's no numerical analysis. They say pre and post. The industry standard is the 25-year event. We'll be looking at that, but I'll earmark it because we have limited meetings with ourselves. We also are required a state stormwater permit. The issue with that is state stormwater is volumetric only in how it treats quality. It doesn't say you need you need to meet the 25-year event. They say for this amount of impervious area, you must provide this much vegetative buffer, this much detention area. So we have 2 sort of events going on that, and I'm just making you aware that that's a bridge we have to cross. And so it's a little bit different than town, but I think in the narrative, we're going to explain how we meet the quantitative runoff, but then you'll see the mechanisms that the state requires also, so that we have a dual purpose in what we're doing. It'll be there, but I'm just explaining it now. So when you get it, you're like, well, why did they do it like this? And it's because that has to carry on to what we do with, and that's the rain gardens. Rain gardens have to be designed a certain way for them. And then we need to show that that meets your quantitative analysis for the site. So just airing it out so you know what you get when you see it.
Okay. Are you also saying that we need to add that 25-year and a 100-year into our ordinance?
I don't know. I don't know if I would go to the 25-year because that gets blown twice a year. So I'll be picking a different one.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Where am I here? Provisions for handling solid waste, including hazardous and special waste, and location of proposed screening of any on-site collection or storage facilities. So you're going to have 4 centralized collection and recycling areas, and GOTS is going to haul it away. Is each site going to have a trash receptacle of its own?
Let me confer and talk to the owners and figure out what makes sense. I mean, it sort of makes sense, but it might be a management nightmare. So we, let us get a thorough answer for that.
It's not in our ordinance right now, but as you gathered from our public hearing, it's something we're recommending for an update of the ordinance. So.
Yep.
Screening of buffering of the areas. Is that shown on where?
The let's see.
Is it on the overall site plan?
Let's get back onto the refuse.
I think it's the buffering plan.
I would say the depends on if the refuse sites, we can add them.
Oh, sorry, refuse.
I think we anticipated each bathroom site nearby having the refuse bin, but I don't see it. I know we have it, but I don't see it here. We should probably add it to C2. You know, and as far as the screening of them, I guess, is that individual screening or is that screening from the exterior? I would say we are screened from the exterior of the site by the buffering plan.
But not necessarily screened from people walking through the campground, or let's say. Is that what
Sure.
you mean?
Yeah, I guess I don't know what that statement is intending by the way the ordinance is. If it's inside, then we can show how they're fenced off. If it's meant to be from the outside in, I just think that is a different story.
It seems to me like the intent of the ordinance would be about for much smaller commercial sites where you've got a dumpster close to the property line. And
Right.
in this case, where your dumpsters are hundreds of feet from the property line, the sort of the buffering plan addresses that.
Yeah, I'm just going through and I think we intended the laundry, I guess it was the laundry and vending to have the dumpsters at, but I don't think that's as clear as I like it at the moment. So there's something we can do to satisfy that sort of.
I'm just trying to recall whether we required that or asked for that to be required on our previous campground application. I thought there was something about that. What do you think, folks? Any questions?
I think it's
Comments?
useful to just acknowledge that it is not clear in the site plans where the dumpsters are going to go. And so for Greg to revise that would help. Yeah.
So noted. We got it.
Okay, entrance will be 3 inches of pavement over 18 inches of MDO. Oh, I'm sorry. The location, dimensions, and materials to be used in the construction of proposed driveways, parking, and loading areas, and walkways, any changes in traffic flow onto or off site. Tab 4, I guess. Entrance will be 3 inches of pavement over 18 inches of MDOT type D. Type D what?
Type D is a gravel.
Gravel, okay. And 4 inches of MDOT type A gravel up to beyond the check-in.
Yep.
The
So
road will be MDOT type A, inch minus gravel.
basically it's paved up beyond the check-in in that intersection and the bus turnaround, and paved. And after that, it's basically like, you know, your crushed stone dust, but the shoulders are vegetated and grass to sort of buffering. But inside gravel roads, once you get beyond sort of the check-in area, and I think that's shown on the, and there's a sidewalk up around the, you'll see on sheet C2. You'll see a line that says end paving and end paving just beyond the sheet C2 near the, well, hopefully you can see it.
Near the check-in office.
Yeah, just beyond there, and then the
Sure,
one beyond the
yeah.
double culverts.
Yep.
You okay with that, folks?
You were saying something about a sidewalk? Was that?
Yeah,
that-
that's the purple as it,
Oh, yeah.
yep,
And is that paved or
that's paved.
gravel?
That,
That's paved.
well, it's paved in the areas that there's pavement. And then once you get beyond that area of pavement, we're, you know, gravel, mulch, and then pine needles, almost like walking paths, not paved. But from the, mainly like the check-in area, the new office, the area forward that's paved, those will be paved up to the general store.
And is the crushed stone road type A?
Yeah, type A would be your inch minus.
And is that shown somewhere? Like, I mean, I see where it's end paving. Is there somewhere where it calls out that the rest of it, like after the end paving, is type A?
Other than the description and if you look at the detail on the right-hand side,
Yep.
you see what the surface is there. It says it's type A. And so that is the way the roads are, typical road. And then the exception is the paving at the front.
The typical road is there. That makes sense. And
And see
then,
the MDOT type A as the surfacing.
yes, I see that. That's great. I guess my request would be for the plan to show where it's paving. I see that it says end paving, but I'm not sure that it's clear which side. I mean, certainly like when you explain it to me, it makes perfect sense, but I want the plan to sort of speak for itself. And so
Sure.
that's all. Yeah.
Yep. Point taken.
We okay with that?
Yep.
Thanks.
Proposed landscaping and buffering. We sort of went over this earlier. We do have the buffering plan. It shows that. Any questions about that?
My only question, Greg, is that the buffering plan and the site plan are both sheet numbered C1. Just, you know, it's not that big of a deal. We can certainly find out which one we're talking about because there aren't that many sheets, but.
Sure. Yeah, well, rather than resubmitting, I see that's a sort of an administrative thing. We
Totally.
reference it as the buffering plan, but I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the buffering plan is very clear and
Yeah.
really appreciate being able to see what's happening and where.
But I won't be able to tell you to go see C1.
That's right.
I understand. I understand.
That's all. Yeah.
Okay. Location, dimensions, and ground floor elevations of all proposed buildings or building expansion proposed on site. So on the site plan, tab 4.
C2.
C2. Is there going to be a swimming pool on this property?
Inside the recreational building.
Cool. Is that the only thing inside that building? Or are there other?
Exercise.
Cool.
Greg? You only gave us the southern part, which you spoke about before, and there's a northern plan to be submitted. Is that correct?
You're correct.
Are there going to be any buildings on the northern plan that we would have to see the elevations of?
There would be the maintenance building on C1. You'll see there's a maintenance building far deep right field.
Okay, so you'll have the elevations when we see that next submission.
Yep.
And once again, why didn't that get printed? Just an oversight?
Yeah, we ran short on time getting the binder together to when it printed. We have it. I didn't want to send it in last week or today. I figured there'd be some stuff that we want to track as a supplemental submittal. So rather than drizzle something in, I'd rather have this fruitful discussion I think we've had tonight so I can better produce a document that can be tracked. So that's really it, Mark.
Okay, well, let me ask you, please, if you're going to make further submissions, we need to have it in our packets the Thursday before we meet. And I would recommend having that to Jesse by Tuesday, so he has time Tuesday before the Thursday. The Tuesday before the Tuesday we meet, how's that? Put it that way, a week before.
You'll have the opportunity to make that a motion if you choose in your sort of anything at the end here. So I perfectly understand you guys need time to prepare. I'm sure that you guys all didn't wait till today to pick up your binders. So I will definitely, I like to have things in advance. So I can meet that, Mark.
If that was a jab at me, Greg, it's well earned.
I was not. It was not. I was actually anticipating there's a lot in these binders, and so
Yeah,
I think
no,
having the
that's
time
great.
over the weekend, how people are busy, having
Totally
something
appreciate it.
for Tuesday is ideal.
I couldn't wait to get into mine. Thank you.
Jesse, Lawson's on probation, okay?
What?
Lawson's on probation. Please note that. Okay. So we don't have that complete. Location, front view, materials and dimensions of proposed signs, together method of securing the sign. We do have that.
Sorry, one question, and this came
I
up
did
a little
see
bit
where-
for I'm going back to the location, dimensions, and ground floor elevations of proposed buildings. This came up a little bit for our last submission, campground, and what do we mean by dimensions? And are we just talking about the floor plan dimensions, or do we also care about how tall the buildings are?
The footprint or the height of the
Right.
buildings you're asking about.
Right. And I think that the height, and I don't think this was Greg, I think it was somebody else who sort of pointed out that that's a little bit of a tricky area to get into if we start requiring at this stage people to sort of commit to a specific height.
I
That
think
was
James brought that up.
when
I
we
think it was
discussed
James,
that.
right. But I think that the understanding what the buildings are, I mean, like a recreational building, the 60 by 80, that's a pretty sizable building. Being able to say that is it a 1-story or a 2-story, is it a 6-story building, I think would just help us have a sense for it. I'm not sure that it's actually required by the ordinance, so I don't want to make that a recommendation or a requirement rather.
It's not required by the ordinance, right, Jesse? The reason,
No.
I think the reason we were discussing it all was for buffering.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
So
And like
understanding,
The tent platforms that were 10 feet off the ground,
right.
the buffering going to cover them.
Right.
And so I think that the recreational building probably is less of a concern, but the cabins, if they were up on stilts, would be, but we'll see that when we see the elevations and the grading and be able to evaluate that.
Okay, so I can take that as a good advisement. That's fruitful that, you know, the buildings themselves and whether or not they've committed to architectural development, but is it a gable? Is the gable 30 feet tall? Or is it 25 feet tall? You know, something that gives us a sense of scale to be able to weigh into a buffering
Yeah.
thing that without being overcommitted is probably useful and probably, I think, informs it better than not knowing. So I can
Right. And
say
again, I
that-
don't think that I don't think that you should commit to exactly the roof form or whatever, but like if we know that it's 1 story with a roof instead of 4 stories with a roof, that helps us.
Yep, I understand.
Cool.
Okay, we were actually talking about the signs though, and method for securing the sign. I think we've got that covered. I saw where in the sign information, Greg actually mentioned how they were going to be secured. Okay, location and type of exterior lighting. Lighting is all fully shielded and downward pointing. See lighting plan and specifications, tab 3. I did see you had a nice little plan for the lighting. If I can find it. What was the, okay, it's
Right at the end of tab.
Yeah, probably just before tab 4.
Yep.
yeah.
And I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. It looks like the intent is for all cabins to have lighting. You've shown that on a few of them, but the way I read it is that all cabins will have some front lighting. Is that correct, Eric?
It's true. Yep.
Great.
Yep. And I've
That's a light on the front.
yeah, that's a light next to the door as you come in to the cabin. And I guess I would add that when we, you guys are looking at the ordinance actually exempts campgrounds from a foot candle number. It asks for being respected for light and recommends this, but it doesn't have a numerical value unless you're a business regulated under the business uses. And then on the business uses, it says except for campgrounds, and one that says excepts, and then it goes on to say 0.6 foot candles. And so we're used to using, usually the threshold is 0.1 foot candles at the property lines. That's what Bar Harbor uses in other places. So plays into why we've moved all the buildings towards the inside of the site to more than 50 feet. But again, they're only using, 60 watt equivalents outside, but fully shielded as well. Not to see, you can see in the glass, but the bulbs themselves have I would say an enclosure over them.
Any questions or comments? Seems like he's met this this standard or this criteria. And you don't have to walk around the campground with a flashlight.
You might, you should. You really should.
Yeah.
Location of all utilities, including fire protection. Now, there was a utility plan that should show, I know that the electricity is all underground, but are we showing the underground runs?
The utility plan does show all the underground electrical. We could, they don't show all the underground runs for plumbing, considering that the corridor for them are in the roads. utilities are, I think the big one is underground electrical. And I guess the board, we did show the leach fields. If we have to show all the underground running in the road, it can be done. I just didn't think that was the intent of that we have our leach fields, but we've shown where all the wells are, underground power, and then they basically follow the roads.
But it'd be easy enough to indicate where the plumbing, the water lines are going, right?
Yeah, I think if we, we could do that.
What do other folks think? I mean, it's a utility and we're supposed to show the location of all utilities, correct?
Yeah, correct. I think you're right, Mark. I'm hesitating because I'm sort of aware that there may be some changes, but I guess of course there might be some changes. I think that you're right. I think that like the sort of design intent and understanding which wells are going to which bathhouses, that would make sense.
I believe we required that for the last campground application,
right?
Although it was much simpler than what they're proposing here. And I just want to make sure that there's a level playing field.
And I'm just noticing, Greg, that the recreation building looks like it's in a different location on CU than on C1, either of the C1s.
It is. I moved it. We looked at, as we walked around flatter areas, and after we started evaluating the buffering, so I would say the CU is incorrect.
Okay. And then do all of the, what are the little circles inside of the RV sites?
Those are just, they were numbers.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
But they'll have electric hookups?
They will.
And all the cabins have electricity. Do the tent sites have electricity?
No.
Okay.
Just the cabins and the RV sites.
Yeah.
And the cabins will have plumbing, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to set back, James. I think we may have, I don't think that we're running electrical to the tent sites. Those are wilderness, but all the other ones will have plumbing and electrical.
And so I guess maybe on the utility plan, that could even just be a note that indicates only get to show how all those lines are going to be run.
Yeah, part of the reason, just like you had said, I mean, want to indicate that we'll need some flexibility because obviously we like to go around ledge outcrops and that sort of stuff. And so you guys can assess the intent of it, and as long as we acknowledge that we're allowed some flexibility to meander, so we can actually protect the site better the more time we spend in there, and that includes in the ground. So that's all.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that right now you're making it pretty clear that all the electric lines are going to be underground. I guess we assume that the water lines will be underground, but it'd be nice to just have that be stated.
Well, yeah, they'll be underground proportions. They may be on top of the ground for some places and just duffed over.
Yeah, yeah.
We okay with that then? A general description of the proposed use or activity. I think we have that on the application itself.
I guess I was a little bit surprised to see a recreation building with a pool and exercise room after reading the description, the proposed use of property that describes a recreational area. And I don't know if it's how nitpicky we want to get, but that seems a little that having a large building with an indoor pool and seems like a significant. It seems different from a recreational area, so I don't know.
I think it sounds awesome, right? So
I do too. I mean, I'm psyched for it.
I think we're gonna go camping, and we're not gonna go travel on roads and become part of the madness. We want to keep them there. So
sure, yeah.
There's this thing called
Don't
Acadia
fly that
National
too
Park.
deep
Good
here.
luck.
Yeah, and part of it being that especially with the walking trails and the building, and we've people want to be here and enjoy it as a wilderness campground, but have some fun stuff to do on the site. And we've talked to the owners, depending on how we get there, that there may be some other aspects during the winter where this is closed that they may find a community benefit of cross-country skiing or walking. I don't know how many people here go walk. I take my kids to Seawall Campground, of course, when the park was closed, right? We had great bike riding this whole fall on paved roads at Seawall Campground. We've talked about that. We have to figure out how that manages, but I think there's some amenities to what become trails and walking paths and stuff in the woods. But anyways, that's related to what I think is passive recreation on the site.
Will the general public be able to use the recreation facilities, the fitness room and pool?
It's just for guests.
Just for guests, okay.
Yep.
Because I know another campground here in town allows people to use their pool for a fee. Okay. Lawson, you okay with that description?
Yeah, I don't think that we need
No,
to,
it's a little vague.
it's a little vague, but the
Okay.
information's,
Estimate of the peak hour and daily traffic to be generated by the project. There is a trip generation report. Greg has provided a lot of information. He's saying 63 peak hourly, includes a total of 39 entering, 24 departures. It's there. I don't know how accurate that is, so that's what the engineering manual says. We okay with that?
Yep.
Stormwater calculations, erosion and sedimentation control measures, water quality and or phosphorus export management provisions. If the project requires a stormwater permit from the DEP, or if the planning board determines that such information is necessary based upon the scale of the project or the existing conditions in the vicinity of the project. We do have that stormwater management plan and report. And there is a permit from the DEP.
No, we will be applying for a permit with the DEP, and the calculations are forthcoming, like we talked about before, that it has to be a cross between what we submit to the state and your ordinance. And so
this
you
is
have-
pending.
that's pending.
Okay,
There's a
so-
narrative, a start of the narrative under
How long does it take to get that approval from the DEP?
we would like to be conditioned because it's a pretty lengthy, it can be 3-4 months to do it. It's expensive. So if something in just based on our experiences to date, if something was going to be a major turnaround to this project, we wouldn't have made that sort of investment.
So we can't really say that this condition's been met then. Right, Jesse?
No. We're still waiting for submissions regarding the stormwater plan and the report.
Yep. So approval block, we do have that, correct? I saw it on this overall site plan.
It'll be on the overall and then the 2 breakdown plans.
Okay, well, it seems like there's some blanks to fill in here. So board members, how do you want to proceed? We can either entertain a motion. I'll either entertain a motion to approve it with conditions, or not approve it until all these other things are met.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. I knew you're going to weigh in.
for what it's worth, I dislike the idea of approving with conditions on one of these things. I'd much rather you tell Mr. Johnson what you're looking for, have him come back, let him submit them, and then vote to approve or.
and
I agree. I think it's incomplete at this point. So the approval with conditions, you're basically saying it's incomplete.
Right. Okay. All set.
I also feel like the conditions or the things that are incomplete, there's sort of multiple ways to follow those through. I mean, if it was just a really simple thing that I could feel like we could approve it with a condition, if it was really obvious what that condition was.
Like a check.
Sure, right, right. But there are a few things like, that I feel like we want to be able to sort of review and make sure that, are fully submitted. And so if we sort of list I'm not quite sure exactly how many it is, maybe 4, half dozen.
I have 8.
8, okay. Things, and then have a sort of resubmission. We can then review just those 8 things, or do we have to go back through the whole checklist?
Just those 8.
Yeah.
Great.
So do you want us to list those 8 things? Or are you all set, Greg?
I think for the record, we want to make sure it's read into the record so it shows up in the minutes and then carries back through to any other processes.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Somebody want to say what those 8 things are? I have 1, technical review fee.
I've written them down.
Okay. Technical
Right.
review fee.
North section plan.
Yeah, yep.
Tech
We could go-
review fee. Okay. North section plan. Okay.
Timeline of submissions.
What was that, Jeff?
Timeline of submissions 1 week before.
Oh. Oh, but he doesn't have that.
Oh, I have it.
Okay. Before meeting, okay.
I have something written down that says water lines, but I don't remember why I wrote it.
All right. So
You
let
can
me,
show them on the plan or,
Utility, that's part of.
Utilities.
So what if we went in order of our checklist?
could we go in order as
do-
we found them?
Do it.
we can
Yeah.
do that.
You got,
Lot 102 boundary survey, was that right?
Right, so in order, the first one is the technical review fee.
Correct.
The second one is the boundary of the adjacent property. Or
Yep.
that's also owned.
Yep.
Yes.
The next one I have is the north plan. Am I missing something?
nope, you got the north plan.
So the north plan, 1, 2, 3.
And the calculations.
Calculations for
Stormwater.
stormwater.
Are those 2 different things, or are the calculations part of
They
the
will
north plan? They're 2 different things? Okay. Then there's the location of the dumpsters.
Yeah. And any buffering or screening there. And
And then the location of paving or the delineation of road types.
how about elevations, the height of the buildings? We talked about that. I have it in my notes here.
Right. I think that's basically part of. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That's because the recreational building we know is what the first floor elevation is, but we don't know what the height is. So
Yep.
that is
So
its
height
own
of structures.
height of structures, or yeah.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And then utilities.
Utilities, that's 8. And that's all I have. Anybody have anything else?
How do we leave it with the stormwater? I think I followed that, and that there's a long process, Greg.
Oh, the DEP.
Right.
approval.
We would request, just like our licensing to operate the business, that no building permit by the code officer would be given until we show evidence of our state stormwater. We're happy to do it. We have several pending in different aspects. It's just that they can't go parallel to this course without being affected. We respectfully ask that that could be a condition upon approval.
Right. And so to like, we
I
shouldn't
think you're- I
expect
think-
you to complete that the next time, to submit that completed the next time.
No, I think the ordinance says whether or not it actually asked if any other DEP permits are required, and we've submitted that they're required. So I think we've met that part of the completeness part. And then for conditions, it'd just be like a condition of any approval, but for completeness, it says identify if those permits are necessary.
Okay.
So the only two I didn't hear was the site trip to Piscataquis. We're all gonna look at the entrance we've permitted with the
Yes, we
DOT
are.
up there, Piscataquis.
Right.
Who's on? We're
We're
waiting
gonna
for-
wait till the snow's
we're
gone.
waiting for good, well, we gotta go skiing, so, so we got the MDOT clarification, and then I had a note of fire chief comment on the adequacy of the pond.
Right.
Although that would probably be not for completeness, but for
Yes, yeah.
performance standards.
Okay, we can cross that one off. I'm good with that.
I am. Anybody else have any issues with that? Kicking that one down the road, those two down the road? Okay. Okay, so now we need a motion to find this incomplete.
I'll make a motion to find it incomplete. Should I list all 8 of them?
Probably,
Uh,
unfortunately. Oh, Jesse
right.
says no.
Right.
Something like, and find it incomplete and advise Mr. Johnson that he may want to bring the items discussed forward.
Great. I'll find it, a motion to find this application incomplete, and ask Mr. Johnson, the applicant, to resubmit the 8 identified things. 8, yeah.
Items discussed.
Thank you. Items discussed.
7 days in advance.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay,
Second,
right, here's second. Okay, motion is second on the table to find the application incomplete and have Mr. Johnson resubmit the 8 items that were discussed a week in advance of the meeting that he plans on doing that. Does that make sense? Okay, all in favor, Jeff Young,
Aye.
Brett,
I,
Lawson,
Aye.
myself, yes. 4-0. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it's clear. If not, you know where Jesse is.
We've got his cell number.
And I would just say,
You know, he's
Greg,
not
thank
gonna be
you.
around for long, so bother him now.
Yeah. Thank you,
No.
Greg, for putting this together. I found it really sort of comprehensive, and
Well, we're trying.
you worked hard.
Job.
So, thank you.
We're trying. Thanks.
No,
He's getting paid for it.
It's getting paid.
absolutely, and he should.
Yeah.
Well, right. And James, since you're listening, you can, pay
Hey, I'm-
Greg his fee.
He's got the number 8 in his head right now, I'm sure. So
Okay, right. Yeah.
The Chris
Okay.
Wilk Island about Nova Scotia is coming on at 8.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Gee, well, it's too
Are you
bad you're
wrapping this up, Mr. Chair?
around for a while. Okay. Moving along, Marjorie, you can rejoin us. Where's Marjorie? There she is. Well, oh,
He's cleaning.
what, you're cleaning? We can't hear you. Okay,
I'm washing windows.
old business, continued discussion of proposed ordinance changes, land use ordinance and site plan review ordinance. Okay, the way I remember this is basically we're just looking at definitions. Is that correct?
I looked at those definitions. I'd like to suggest that maybe we have James prepare a memo for us in a putting them together. I mean, we can discuss. I'm not I don't think we should sit here and try redraft or read these definitions as a committee in this way.
I don't think that's the idea, Jeff. I think what we decided was we were basically going to just find the ones that were the same in both ordinances and discuss those. And there's, I believe, only 11 or 12. And some of those are going to be very simple and just use whichever definition we like the best out of the two when there's a conflict. That's the way I understood what we were doing. And I was going to suggest, let's take, since the LUO has the most definitions anyway, and at some point we're going to move the site plan review into the LUO. Let's just move all the definitions into the LUO, put something, a clause in the site plan saying that referring that the LUO definitions apply. Then we can quickly go through here, the two, by comparing. Jesse, well, I sat down and broke them down, and Jesse also did. So we know which ones we have. Anybody object to proceeding that way? I don't hear an objection. Well, at
James
least-
is just talking. but-
Chairman, if I may,
What's that?
if I may, the procedure sounds fine, except that I don't think you should put any definitions in the land use ordinance from the site plan review ordinance that aren't in the land use ordinance, because otherwise they'd be a definition with no reference. Know what I
It
mean?
would be referred to by, wouldn't it be?
No, listen to me now. Let's say you had the term black cat and you want to define black cat, but it's not used in the land use ordinance, it's only used in the site plan review ordinance. It would make no sense to put that in the land use ordinance if it's not used in the land use ordinance. So what I'm thinking is, while I agree with what you're saying, except for a few definitions you may want to leave in the site plan review ordinance, if they are only used in the site plan review ordinance and they're not referenced in the land use ordinance. You follow?
I do follow, yes. And that's easy enough. I don't know
Yeah, I
whether
don't
the
think
way,
there are very many. They're probably in both.
there aren't many. In fact, I made a list if I can find it.
You lost your list.
It's 11.
What's that?
There's 12 in site plan that aren't currently defined in land use.
Okay. So if we go to land use definition, a butter, and we have a budding property in the site plan, we don't need to change that, right? If we go by what James is saying.
Yeah, they're two different things.
They're two different things.
Okay. So then we go to the first thing, accessory structure or use, and the definition is the same in both.
Okay.
Correct?
Yep.
Yep.
We go to agreed party. And there's just one little difference. An owner in the land use, an owner of land whose property is directly or indirectly affected by the granting or denial of a permit or variance. In the site plan, it's directly or indirectly affected by the granting or denial of an approval. So I don't know what to do with that. If
This is my point. I really think as a committee, this is not the right way to take these apart and put them back together again.
okay, I'll go. Anybody else have opinions?
I'm with Jeff. I feel like my opinion is to say, well, James, what do you think we should do? And if we're going to do that through all of them, then we might as well just say, well, James, what do you think we should do? What could you tell us that, take your time and tell us when you want, or I don't know, but maybe that's the wrong way to do it.
I will, go ahead, Jeff.
I think it's unfair, and James, you may want to argue with this, but I think it's unfair to put James on the spot just to sit at a meeting and do this, take us through it without having him have an opportunity to digest it and think about our site plan and our land use. I think it's an awkward spot to put him in. I think it's the way errors are created.
Okay.
That's why I'm suggesting that maybe we have him look at these and come back and say, this is how I edited them to marry these definitions together and work for your town.
Yeah, I think that's a better
I
idea.
thought it would be easier to do it, but obviously there are gonna be some issues, so that's fine. Let's go with what you guys say. Brett, what do you think? Marjorie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, even on that first one there, when I first read it, I was like, well, it makes sense. There's actually a bit of a difference because under the site plan, you're just looking for one big approval, and under the land use ordinance, it could be a permanent or variance, which are kind of subset of approvals, but they're specific. So I mean, these things are not. You may think they're simple when you try to sort of unpack them and put them back together. It's actually it can get complicated.
Okay.
I agree with Jeff.
Yep.
The other thing is about drafting. Drafting is extremely difficult. As soon as you write something, somebody criticizes it. So I think the best plan is for the chair or Jesse has those 11 picked out to send me an email with those items in it and give me a timeline, and I'll give you a memo, which you can circulate to the planning board. I'll give it to Jesse. He can circulate it to the planning board and say, here's what I suggest we do with these. And I can tell you, it's going to be what the chairman said, which is delete all of them that you can from the site plan review ordinance, make a reference, like the chair said, to the land use ordinance, and then fix any ones that we have to. And also, lastly, leave in the site plan review ordinance those few definitions that are mentioned there and only there. And I think I can get them all in the land use ordinance, he says confidently.
I'm fine with that. You know, taking the site plan review ordinance out of the land use ordinance has caused all kinds of issues.
Yeah, because it shouldn't be there.
We know.
In the land use ordinance.
Yeah, we know that now.
We all know it now. That's it.
Okay, so do you want a motion for that, Jesse?
Yes, please.
Anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to ask town attorney to review the definitions for the land use ordinance and site plan review ordinance and make recommendations to the board.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay.
For the record, let's make sure we're not asking James to review all the definitions.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah, no, we're gonna look at them all and move them and suggest how to move them. I'm not gonna look at each one, no, and.
We're not editing definitions.
No,
except the ones
no.
that are right, okay.
Only ones where there's conflict between the two ordinances.
I mean, that's what I know we're talking about, but that's not the motion really says. I just want to.
It's
good, yeah.
Review and recommend nice and broad. I can live with that.
Okay.
The key thing after you finish voting on it is, when do you want it so that I can get it to Jesse, so that you can have time when I'll send a memo to him, so he can send it to you guys to have lots of time before the next meeting. So give me a deadline.
Are you able to do that before our next meeting?
When is your next meeting?
The 6th, is it?
The 9th.
The 9th.
9th is better than the 6th. Yeah.
What, Jesse, when do we lose you, though?
Not anytime soon.
Okay, good.
The
Okay,
9th is fine, Mr. Chairman.
hold on. What's that?
The 9th is fine.
Okay.
1 o'clock.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table to have James review the definitions and make recommendations on that. All in favor? Lawson?
Aye.
Brett? Brett gives a thumbs up. Is that legal to do a thumbs up?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. And Marjorie?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. It's 5-0. Okay.
What's your timeline though? When do you want it?
Well,
I thought we discussed the next meeting.
Yeah, I know, but you don't want it like the 9th, you want it.
no,
2
we,
days ahead of time.
okay, we would like it in our packets the Thursday before. Whatever date that is, the 4th.
4th. Okay.
So if you
Yeah,
can
I-
get it
I
over
can do
to,
that.
get it over to Jesse in the morning so
Yeah,
that he can put the packets together.
I can just add that I will not be in the office next week. So I'm preparing physical packets this week. So if you want to stick to that, I can forward you James' memo email.
yeah.
It will be in your packet, your physical packet. You'll still have it by the 4th, but it'll just be an email version.
So you're going on vacation already?
Yeah, before I start.
Wow.
Didn't want to do it after I started.
Okay. Are you going anywhere special?
Yes.
Okay, he's not gonna tell us. He's gonna go to Cancun.
No.
Okay, so do we need to discuss anything else? Or are we gonna just move on then? I think we're all set. Other, I noticed that, Jesse, we have the new, bylaws with the actual, timeline of.
Yeah,
the
for some
approval.
reason, it must not have copied the week prior because it was on there.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the new bylaws, put those in your packets, or I mean, in your folders. Anything, Jesse, that you want to say?
No.
Wait, sorry, you said that there are new bylaws in our folders?
Yeah.
Yeah, did
Folder-
you not
the
have one?
folder should have the newly approved bylaws.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I got those.
Okay,
Yes.
we got them last, oh, you weren't at the meeting, the last meeting, okay. We
Yep.
got them for that, but they didn't have the timeline of when they had been approved, the whole process, which makes them reasonably legal. Okay, Jesse, anything going on with CEO? You know, have you talked about when to do a search, start searching?
Not yet.
Okay, sooner the better. Set the date, I take a motion, to set the date for the next meeting, March 9th, by Zoom, I guess.
So moved.
Second,
Motion to second the table to hold our next meeting, March 9th, 6 o'clock by Zoom. All in favor, Marjorie,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Lawson,
yes.
myself, yes, 5-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, yes, sir.
I wonder, I might have been napping here, reaching for my nuts, but did you do something with the prior application? Did you table it?
Prior application,
The
You found it
camera.
incomplete, the one that Mr. Johnson was involved in. We moved to
Yeah.
find it incomplete, but
we
did you?
found it
table
incomplete.
Hmm?
So you're saying we need to table discussion?
No, I don't know how you do it, and because I don't have a copy of your bylaws. But how are you gonna bring it up on the agenda next time? Guess you're just gonna put it on,
I assume so, yeah,
and it's gonna have public notice?
yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Public notice, how's that gonna work with you on vacation?
We don't do a public notice other than just posting the agendas for completeness.
Yeah, okay.
The public notice is minimal in Tremont compared to some other places.
Yeah, now
Yes.
for the public hearing on it, if it gets that far, that's a different matter,
Yes, that'll require 3 weeks public notice,
right?
3 weeks in advance.
Okay, and, okay. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Wait, Mark, are we
Yeah, second.
typically go to the campground and walk around like we did at Point?
We can schedule a site visit, but if you look at the conditions aren't good, and actually, if we had got that far, I was gonna discuss that, look in your ordinance and see what it says. There are some things where, with snow on the ground or other unfavorable conditions, we don't have to hold it right away. And actually that can bump ahead the public hearing process, I believe. I have to read it again.
It's generally preferable, Mr. Chairman, to have all your site visits together as a group.
Well, yeah, we would do that. But where does it say about site visits?
James, do you want to go to it?
I don't think anybody wants me there to pay for me to drive over, but I'd love to. I love a site visit.
I will tell you, if you make it over here, you can come to dinner.
Come to your place and see the parrot. I want to see that parrot.
God, he finally went home.
The rest of the board members don't know, but the last time I was at Marjorie's place, it was fabulous.
Let's end our meeting. I'd like to move this along.
Yeah, okay.
It's dinner
I
time.
was looking for the site plan thing, but I
We
mean,
can
site.
figure that out
visit
later.
thing,
We
but
can do it later.
that
We don't
can
need
do
to
that later. Motion
Yeah,
to
let's
adjourn.
move to finish.
So
the
moved.
meeting.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Lawson,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Marjorie,
Yes.
myself, yes. Okay, good night,
Adios.
folks. James, go watch your show.
See you kids later.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.